Arthur Schopenhauer was one of the most brilliant minds in human history. His work had an immense influence on many fields and disciplines, and he is considered to be one of the greatest philosophers that ever lived. But Schopenhauer had his own share of weaknesses. One of his most prominent traits was his misogyny, which in some shape or form almost always finds its way into discussions about him. So why did this great philosopher hate women so much? What was it about them that triggered such animosity in him? Keep watching to find out more. Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to talk about Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher who hated women. Before we start, we ask that you subscribe and leave a like for our future videos. And with that being said, let's begin. Arthur Schopenhauer was born in Danzig on February 22, 1788. His father was a wealthy merchant and landowner, while his mother was a former opera singer. Although he had every condition to have a happy childhood, Schopenhauer's life was anything but happy. He had a very problematic relationship with both parents. And as a matter of fact, the relationship with his mother is the root of his hatred towards women. His mother remarried several times after she divorced his father. And even though her new husbands provided young Arthur with everything he needed, including education, he despised all of them. Schopenhauer claimed that they were nothing but tools his mother used to extract money from them. It's also been noted that he saw his mother as a shrew and a nagging woman. In his autobiography, Schopenhauer wrote, "A violent, turbulent, and exceedingly disagreeable temper, which indeed never deserted her throughout her whole life, and showed itself in vehement reproaches and in a really tragic despair of all that related to me." All of this contributed to his belief that women were inherently evil creatures. According to psychologist Ernest Jones, who wrote a book on the life and work of Sigmund Freud, Schopenhauer's view on women could also be traced back to his sexual frustration. Jones writes that Schopenhauer remained a virgin throughout his entire life, just like his close friend and fellow German philosopher Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. Both men dedicated themselves to their intellectual work and rejected anything that could distract them from it, including sex. Jones argues that since Schopenhauer was not able to enjoy sex, he came to believe that it was a horrible experience and women should be punished for that. This may seem like an absurd conclusion to come to, but when we consider that Schopenhauer was also a proponent of pessimism, it begins to make a bit more sense. In his worldview, everything was interpreted through the lens of suffering. For Schopenhauer, life was nothing but pain and misery, and he believed that any pleasure we experience is either superficial or leads to even deeper suffering. If we take these ideas and apply them to sex, we can see how Schopenhauer might have concluded that the only rational thing to do was to avoid it at all costs. However, his views on women didn't stop there. As a matter of fact, Schopenhauer hated women so much that he took misogyny to the extreme. In his essay On Women, he states, "Women are not our equals. They are inferior to us, and by nature they are our subordinates. Their chief occupation and business in life is to marry. Whoever does not see that women are the most frivolous of creatures, that they are the least reliable of all, that they are only fit to be domestic animals, knows little of life. Let every man take this as a general rule, that whenever he has to deal with women, he must be on his guard against their thousand wiles and artifices, for they are all a set of little, artful rogues." Wow, those are pretty harsh words. But what led Schopenhauer to believe that women were so dangerous? Why did he think they were evil? And why did he despise them so much? In order to understand Schopenhauer's misogyny, we need to first delve into the concept of will. In his philosophy, will is the driving force behind all of existence. Everything that happens in this world is a direct consequence of the will. Will always strives to satisfy itself, but it can never do so because satisfaction is an illusion. We can never truly be happy or fulfilled. As soon as we achieve something, the feeling quickly fades away, and we immediately want something else. According to Schopenhauer, this is the source of all our unhappiness. And now here comes the role of women. You see, in Schopenhauer's view, women were nothing but the embodiment of the will. He believed that they represented everything he hated about existence. To make things worse, Schopenhauer argued that women were even more enslaved by the will than men. Since they lacked rationality, they relied even more on their emotions to navigate the world. This made them even more prone to the whims of the will. Schopenhauer's misogyny also manifested itself in his views on beauty. For him, beauty was nothing but a superficial and ultimately deceptive quality. He argued that beautiful women were especially dangerous because their beauty could easily mislead men. In his essay on women, Schopenhauer writes, "For as a man sees in the beautiful woman merely an embodiment of his own aesthetic sense, and therefore regards her as the highest good, so she regards him merely as a means to the satisfaction of her own needs, and therefore regards him as a mere instrument." In other words, Schopenhauer believed that beautiful women use their beauty as a weapon to manipulate men. They use their beauty to get what they want, but they don't reciprocate in return. This brings us to another important aspect of Schopenhauer's misogyny, his views on marriage. He regarded marriage as a union between a man and a woman solely based on their sexual needs. He believed that once a man married, he was essentially doomed to a life of misery. And if that wasn't bad enough, Schopenhauer even claimed that children were a curse. He argued that having children only caused suffering for women and that they should not be encouraged. It's clear that Schopenhauer was not a feminist. His views on women were extremely negative, and he saw them as nothing but trouble. But there's more to his misogyny than just personal experience. Schopenhauer's views on women were deeply rooted in his philosophy and his beliefs about the nature of reality. For him, women were not just dangerous creatures. They were a reflection of the suffering that he believed was inherent to existence. But why did he feel the need to express his views on women so passionately? Why was he so adamant about sharing his views on women, misogyny, with the rest of the world? Well, the answer is quite simple. Schopenhauer believed that he was doing women a favor by warning men about their wiles and their arts. He genuinely believed that his warnings would help men to avoid the pitfalls that he himself had fallen into. After all, he thought he was just looking out for their best interests. But Schopenhauer's misogyny did not go unnoticed. As his career progressed, many people began to criticize him for his views on women. Some of his contemporaries even accused him of being a woman hater. Despite the criticism, Schopenhauer continued to speak out against what he saw as the evils of feminism. He believed that women were inferior to men and that they had no place in society. So what was Schopenhauer's legacy when it comes to women? How did his views impact the world around him? Unfortunately, Schopenhauer's legacy is a mixed one. On the one hand, he was a brilliant philosopher whose ideas continue to be studied and debated today. On the other hand, he was a misogynist who believed that women were inferior to men. Ultimately, it is up to each individual to decide how they feel about Schopenhauer's legacy. There is no doubt that he was a genius, but there is also no doubt that he was a bigot. What do you think about Schopenhauer's views on women? Do you agree with his assessment of their character? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and see you next time.